Okay, I think we're right now. Today we're going to be looking at creating a GUI to implement this design here. This is my original hand-drawn design. We're going to be using an object descriptor to label all the cells, all the elements first as well. So hopefully it will end up looking like this, and I'm going to be motoring through this. So first let's have a look at our code. I've got this from the website. Just here, what this bit of code does here is it just says from Tinker import, so we just basically import some code. We label the window as root, and then we've got some labels here. So we're going to use this as a basis of our code. If I go run now, we've just created a little window and it says hello world. Okay, so let's start actually creating some proper code and some proper labels. First thing is, if we come back to our design here, you'll see the first thing I want is a big heading that says SAC results. Let's have a look how I've labelled the first one, and I've said LBL heading. Now that's going to be a label, and the text will say in all caps SAC results. Now what we do here, so I copy this label again, so with the name, instead of saying pack, I'm going to say grid, because I want to lay it out like a table. And in this method here, in the brackets, is how I actually want to label it out. So you'll see here from my design I've said row, so it's going to be in row 0. So it's row equals 0, comma, column equals 0. The other thing we need to do is we need to have a column span. This heading goes over 2 columns. So here's column, I scroll this down a bit, we've got column 0 and column 1. Just a reminder that column 0 starts at the very top, so you might think that should be column 1. It's actually column 0 then column 1, and that's row 0 then row 1. Because the heading goes over 2 columns, we need to use another little attribute. It's called column span. So I click here and I go column span, like that. And that will equal 2 because it goes over 2 columns. So save that now. You'll see I've got SAC results, and we're starting to build the GUI. Let's go down and see what the next item is. So we've got in row 1, we've got first name as a label, and I've got an entry box. So I've got LBL, let's see how I've labelled it. LBL first name. Actually I can even cut and paste that from here. It'll make my life a bit easier. Now we know it's going to be a label. Now the window is root. Now the text equals, and the text will equal first name. I'll close the bracket. I can copy this bit of text again. Dot grid. Now row, this time will equal 1, we're coming down 1. Column equals 0. If you have a look here, it's row 1, column 0. And that's it. So if I go save, we've got SAC results and we've got first name. I'm not going to worry at this stage about the size. I'll come back and work on that a bit later. Now if I have a look at my design, the next thing I've got is an entry box. We need to put the first name in somewhere. how I do that, I've got here, I've got first name as an entry box. I better make sure I copy this properly this time. Okay, now this time it's not a label, it's an entry. I go root, I go text, it's not, sorry, it hasn't got a text. The attribute we're looking for is width. We worked out in class the other day that a good width for a name entry box should be about 10. Okay, so we know it's going to be in row number 1, and we also know that it's going to be in column. Well, let's go check out what column is in. It should be in column 1. Here it is, right here. So I go column 1. There we have name entry box. So it's coming along. We're starting to build it. Now, to save me doing a lot of typing, I'm going to cut and paste all that text, and I can just, all I really need to do is change a couple of attributes to get it to work out the whole thing. Now the next label coming down is last name here. So if I change the name to last name instead of first name, so we have a label, an entry box. So if I'll change that to last name, and I'll change that to last name. Now, that text will have to change. I'll change that to last name. And the row, now it's going to be in row 2. The entry box, instead of saying first name, here's the name here. And I may as well do that there. Same width, because we're still looking at the same width here. So we're looking at, it'll be in row 2. Except this time it'll be in column 1. So now when I save and run it, we've got two label, entry box, label, and entry box. We're nearly finished. The only thing we need to do is mark and an entry box there. We could again copy and paste. We could just change now to LBL mark. So LBL, didn't copy it properly. So we'll go LBL mark, and LBL mark, and ENT mark. So I can just go to ENT mark, and I'll change the that one over here. All right, mark, we've got here, LBL mark. We need to change the text here to just say mark. Now that's going to be in row 3. We know it's in row 3 because I've got row 3 here. Okay, it's in column 0. Now the mark, the entry widget will be in row 3, but that'll be in column 1. Now I'm going to be putting in a mark out of 100, so I can get away with having a width here of only 3. If I save that and run that, you'll see that I've created this result so far. All we really need to do now is add a button and add a couple more labels, and we're nearly finished. So now we add a button in our code. Let's have a look how to do that. We're down here submit. Now a new type of object, this is a button, so we write button, still root, and the text is what text will appear in the button. And what will appear in the button is submit. Now that'll be dot grid. Now it'll be row 4 and it'll be column 0. I know it's row 4 because here it says here, column 0. Now the other thing is we're going to use a column span like I did the other one, and that will be 2. So this will go over 2 columns right here. I save that now and run that. We've got this square button here. Just about done. The only thing is we need to do a result here. So I've got LBL result. Again, that's going to be a label. It's going to be dot grid, of course. Now row will equal row 5 because we're right down to row 5 now. And I've got column will equal 0. And one more label. So this is where we will return the result. So I'm building this little area here. Now, I don't want to have any text, I want the text to appear, but it's always a good idea when you're doing this to put some dummy text in as we're building it, designing it. Later on we'll delete that, but for the time being we'll just put a hashtag in just to see what it will look like. Now that's going to be row equals 5, and it's going to be column equals 1. Now let's press F5 and see the whole thing. Whole thing's completed now. You're going to say that doesn't look like much like your original design. What we'll do now is I won't complete the whole thing, I'll leave that for you to do, but I'll show you how we can start to change some of the attributes to make this appear differently. The first thing we need to do is bump that text up. It needs to be taken right up to 24. We need to have Arial, I'll just show you over here. Should be Arial 24, it should be bold, it should be centered. So let's see how I can do that. Okay, here we go. Right, in the head section here, the head, what we do to change the font, we write this code here, font, open bracket, close bracket. Now anything here is how we'll change it, and I'm going to go equals. First thing I want to do is change it to Arial, comma, the size of 24, and I think if I just write bold here, there you go. So now that text has been brought up a lot. You'll obviously do the same thing for each one of these labels where it says 14 point. You'll change that. The other thing I've got to do as well is give it a bit of spacing and give it a bit of padding. How I do that is I'll use some other attributes here. Now if I write this one pad Y, that's how much space the little button will come down from the top and the bottom. I'm just going to put in something a bit radical to start off with, and I can always ease it back later on. I'm going to say pad Y equals 20. And I'm going to say pad X, which is left and right, I'm going to say that equals 10. That might be a bit too extreme. We'll see how we go. There you go. So that's quite good. That shows you that that's a lot of space between here and here. The problem we have at the moment, I want the text to line up right in the middle, and I want this text to line up. So I have to use another attribute here for the first name one and this first entry box. So this name one here, again, if I can change the text, I wrote font equals then I'm going to write 14, and that will be it. I've spelt Arial wrong there. Now, I wanted to talk about how to get this appearing on, not in the middle, but right on this side. So I want to make it a line out to the right hand side. Now in Tinker, we use this, we call it sticky. So in other words, which way is it going to stick? And I can just write, I think it's just write an E for east. I think that's it. Well, we're about to find out. Syntax error doesn't like this. So we might have done something wrong here. Let's have a look what I've done wrong. It's always a bad sign. Well, I need to close that bracket. All right. That's now coming across to this side. So it's called sticky and east. What I'll do is I'll do the same thing with this entry box, except this sticky will be not east but west. Remember the points of the compass: never, north, east, south and west. So if I want to appear on this side, that'll be on sticky east. This will be sticky west. I'll go on that side here. So we'll do that for each one. I could give it a bit of padding here. We could make that a bit better. So I'll leave you to do the rest of that. So remember, sticky is which side it will appear on. You can use pad Y and pad X to actually space it out a bit, to give it a bit more space. I'm just going to try now, I'm going to put pad X, just going to write 5. I think that might give it a bit more space. That does give it a bit more space. Probably 5 isn't enough. I might even try 10. That's nice. So if I do that for each one, we'll have the widgets will appear right down here. It'll be right nice and neatly done. So I won't labour the point. I think I've given you enough to keep on going. The code will be on the website, and good luck.